select to play Laser Regulation by the Pixies.
Is that about El Niño?
It's in the lyric. It's my main through El Niño.
Oh, yeah.
Walk the sand through the frustration.
I never realized that's what he was saying.
Yeah, but riding the El Niño is sort of, as you'll see, it's not a wave.
It's wrong, Black Francis.
Yeah, really wrong. Charles. You know Charles?
No, it's Frank. In the Pixies, he's Black Francis.
Yeah, he's back to black.
Yeah, Frank Black.
And I saw him in, you and I are both like that, obviously, but I saw him do a solo show, really been with the Catholics even, in a tiny little bar in LA when I lived there.
Wow.
And they were, I couldn't figure it out, they were, and it's not like 75 people. I was like, why are you playing here? And why aren't there 1,000 other people trying to get in here?
Yeah.
And he's 8 feet in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, the Catholics were okay, but
I mean, those albums are great.
not Joe Bucky.
Great. Well, I think those are Catholic albums are really good.
Really?
Yeah.
I like just plain old like
Dixie Thunder.
well, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, great show.
At the end of the road, turn left.
I know
Then
exactly
turn
what
right.
I'm talking about, but I never realized. Right.
Yeah, these things out there.
Yeah. I think that it was like Niño or something like that.
Or maybe he didn't mean the weather phenomenon. Maybe he meant he got on the back of a small boy and rode around.
Turn left. Then turn right.
Because if you live in Spain or a Spanish-speaking country and you turn on, say, the weather channel, they will say things like, well, the Christ child is going to be way worse than the last time the Christ child came around. That's what they
After
say.
200 meters, turn right.
Capitalized means the Christ child. That's right. If it's lowercase, it just means the boy in Spanish. But uppercase, the baby Jesus.
Yeah, and I never knew this until we researched this. In Peru, the
Turn right.
Spanish colonizers coined that term when they discovered this phenomenon themselves around Christmas.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. It's pretty cool, I guess.
And we should mention historically, this is nothing new.
What, El Niño?
No, they written records date back to 1525, and
Spaniards again.
of course, and there's geological evidence that dates it back possibly to like Albert Science.
You will arrive at your destination at 3:28 p.m.
4,000 years. There's some scientists there that are wanting to go examine annual deposits of Indonesian coral.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this coral looks like it was by El Niño.
Right.
Over 4,000 years.
I also saw they found evidence that a very early Peruvian
After
culture
300 meters, turn right.
Just based on some of like the disappearance of some certain mollusk varieties. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So nothing new. You should probably tell people, if you don't know what El Niño is, what El Niño is. You know,
Sure. I do like I do with lots of things that don't
Turn right.
Go to kids' science websites.
yeah, I found one that said, I was like, I was reading this article 3 times and I got to the bottom and it said 5th grade science module. I was like, man,
It really helps, and that's just a tip from us to you. If you're a dumb adult, and then go look at kids' websites.
5th grade was
Yeah.
about right there.
All right, so here's the deal. Temperatures, global temperatures depend a lot on the ocean. Weather period depends a lot on the temperature of the oceans.
Right.
So if you have a warm ocean, you're going to have more rain in that area. And then the Pacific Ocean, near the equator, the equatorial region,
Where it's warm.
you're going to have the sun baking that water on the surface, making it warmer.
Right, and then that
rain.
water heats up the air right above it. That air rises, taking some of the moisture with it, and it rises up and meets cooler, drier air in the atmosphere. That water vapor condenses and turns into rain, because it's a tropical thunderstorm.
Right. So that's part one.
Right, and then in the Pacific specifically, there is a patch of warm water that usually gets blown from the eastern Pacific to the western Pacific, usually like clockwork, and when that happens, everything's normal.
Yes, these are trade winds, and they live usually pretty consistently, but not always. Sometimes they don't blow blows heavy, and sometimes they change direction.
Yeah, so if the trade wind isn't blowing this warm water, the rotation of the Earth on its axis actually pushes the warm water toward the east
After
rather than
300
toward the
meters,
west.
bear
So
left.
everything's normal and the trade wind flows this warm water to the west. In the wintertime, the rainy season comes to places like East Asia, right?
Yeah.
And then western Peru, the eastern Pacific, it's kind of confusing, so just refer to a map.
Bear
of the
left.
south.
Yeah, that would help actually.
Is normally dry and cool, right?
Yeah.
But if the trade winds aren't there, like you say, to push that warm water along, that warm water stays right where it is off the coast of Peru in the eastern Pacific, and all the weather in the world starts to change. This is what's called El Niño.
That's right, and El Nino isn't, it's not something that just affects that one region out in the middle of nowhere in the ocean.
Right.
It affects climate, well, not climate, but weather all over the world. In the U.S., what you usually see, and we'll talk more about this current El Nino that we're in. We're in one, yeah, 2015, 2016 winter. But typically in the U.S., it's going to be cooler and wetter weather in the southern part of the United States, warmer weather in the upper Midwest and Pacific Northwest and Alaska, fewer hurricanes, more typhoons.
Right.
Globally,
Fewer Atlantic hurricanes, more Pacific typhoons. Aren't they one and the same? Like a hurricane and a typhoon is just depending on where in the world they are? I don't know. I think so. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what you call it, I guess. We're going to find out. I'm sure.
around the world, in Southeast Asia, where it's warm and dry, in places like Australia, it's going to be warm and dry.
Right.
Like, it can be dangerously dry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It'll get drier than normal because the rainy season isn't being brought over there by the trade winds that year.
Exactly. Southern Africa, warm and dry. Central Africa, wetter. And then South America is sort of all over the place, depending on where you are, from dry in the northeast to wet in the west and south.
Right.
All right, I
those
don't
are
know what you're
those
doing,
are what
so...
El Nino will mean
When it happens.
usually.
The thing is this happens every 2 to 7 years, supposedly. And it's actually only in fairly recent times, since the early 80s, that science has really sat up and paid attention to this, and it was because they got caught off guard by one. But throughout the study over the last 30-something years, we still don't have any idea what causes the trade winds to stop, basically, some years.
Yeah.
That produces El Nino. And that's a huge mystery, and one that really, if we could solve that, if we could figure it out, then we could probably predict El Nino even further out, which is, as we'll see, would save lives.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we take a quick break here, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the process. That's right, buddy. Our friends at Squarespace have a pretty cool thing going now called Make Your Next Move. It's a campaign that coincides with the new year, when people are setting new goals, starting businesses, changing careers, launching creative projects. It's going to give them a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to make their next move known to the world.
Yep, thanks to Squarespace, you can go online very easily, very simply, using their intuitive drag and drop tool, and create your own website. And all of a sudden you say, hey world, it's a new year, check out a new me. I'm making my next move.
That's right. They also have award-winning 24/7 customer service, and they offer a unique domain experience that's fully transparent and simple to set up.
Yep, Squarespace is used by a wide range of creatives, including us, people, businesses, musicians, designers, artists, restaurants. Basically anybody who has a presence on the web has gone through Squarespace and loves them.
That's right. Just visit squarespace.com/Google. Start your free trial today. Use our offer code WORKS, WORKS, for 10% off your first purchase. All right, so you said every 2 to 7 years,
Yes, I did.
El Nino comes on stage and makes a bow. Because we have pictures.
Seriously, if you haven't seen it, Chris Farley did, just go watch it. It's
After
hilarious.
200 meters,
He's got like
go
Carmen
straight on.
Miranda armbands on and a shirt.
It's great. You like to take his shirt off.
Yeah, he did. He not last. So Chuck, we were talking about how El Nino affects the weather not just around like eastern Peru or making it drier in Southeast Asia or Australia.
Yeah.
And the reason that it affects weather around the world is because of the jet streams. There's a bunch of them, and basically the jet streams are where the stratosphere and the troposphere meet. And it's, just to put really even like less than 5th grade science-y.
Second grade science?
They're like rivers of fast-moving air in already moving air. It's a jet stream, basically, up in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they're basically like conveyor belts around the world.
Yeah, they move from west to east.
Right, and they
Go
push
straight
things
on.
like warm air and cool air and high pressure and low pressure and fronts and all over the world. And when these things encounter other fronts that are already there, they form weather, right?
Yep.
And it's weird to think of weather as the lack of something, but having, say, cool, dry weather, that's still weather. Usually you think of weather as an event, like a thunderstorm, a tornado, or something like that. But weather can also be unusually dry or unusually cool weather, too.
Yeah, weather is just however it is right now, is weather.
After 200 meters, turn right,
And
then
the jet stream,
left.
because of its massive power, can affect like thousands of miles away things that you wouldn't think might be affected or affected.
Yeah, and so depending on where you are in the jet streams are
Turn
characterized by
then
troughs and
left.
ridges, right?
Yeah.
And if you're underneath a ridge, things usually tend to stay warm and dry. And if you're under a trough, it's usually cold and wet.
Yeah.
So, like you said, in El Niño, the southeastern United States usually is sitting right underneath a trough in the jet stream, which means it's colder and wetter than usual.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why. Because of the jet stream. People blame it on the El Niño, and the El Niño started the whole thing. Like, this weather wouldn't be happening.
After
But the reason the El
300
Niño is
meters,
distributed throughout
left.
the world is because of the jet stream. So it's this very extraordinarily complex system working in concert with one another.
To recap it.
Yes.
For the most part. El Nino, we said every 2 to 7 years is when we get one. And climatologists and weather people and meteorologists, what else can I call them?
Weather bugs.
They look at patterns, and you can't just say anytime like, oh, things are heating up a little bit, it's El Nino. There are specific conditions. They look in particular at
You can say that, but you'll get shouted down.
Oh, sure, yeah. You're a meteorologist.
Yeah, they love shouting.
They look at ocean temperatures mainly in the Pacific, and when they find a 0.9 degree Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius rise in the water, and then the conditions start to sort of act like we were talking about before with the wind.
Right.
They say, all right, let's take a look at this and start charting it, everybody. And everyone gets real excited in the office. And what they need is 5 overlapping 3-month periods for that to be officially classified as El Nino.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just, like you said, weather.
But it all starts with the sea surface temperature, is what they call it, staying warmer, being warmer than usual.
Yeah, and right now we are officially in the strongest El Nino on record.
Yes.
At a 3.1 degree rise Fahrenheit.
And
peak.
Wow, and like El Nino conditions start at 0.9 degrees?
Yeah.
And we're at 3.1?
Yeah, and one of the other, we'll talk. The other big ones, but the one in
Play Queen.